Hello friends, now we will discuss the next part of the fourth unit, that is lecture part 2. In the lecture part 1 we have already seen the basics of life insurance and the actuaries involved in the life insurance activities. Now in the second part of the lecture we will discuss important things relating to life insurance, that is life insurance contract, particularly life insurance documents and the insurance premium calculations. These three important points I would like to cover in this lecture series. As we have already seen in the earlier classes also, that insurance is a contract, especially life insurance is a specific kind of a contract. It is a contract between insurance company and the insurance policy holder about the compensation to be paid to the policy holder by the insurance company either at the time of the death or after the maturity of the term, whichever is earlier. This contract includes the description about various elements mentioned in the policy document. Uh, that is, the contract always talks about a compensation to be made. In case of a life insurance contract, the insurance company is compensating the loss or the death happened to the uh, policy holder. At the time of the death, the dependents are compensated, or after the maturity of the time, the policy holder is compensated, the sum assured, the value of the policy. That is what against a particular consideration called a premium. The various elements of the insurance contract which are to be compulsorily discussed at the time of entering into contract and has to be mentioned in the policy document are the sum assured. What is the sum assured? Sum assured is the face value of the policy, which is the highest amount of the compensation paid to the policyholder after the expiry of the term or payable to the policyholder, or it may be paid after the death to the dependents, whichever is earlier. The sum assured is the amount value of the policy. Say for example, if the person takes a sum assured policy of 3 lakhs rupees, it means that after the expiry of the time period, say if the time period is for 10 years, after the 10th year, the insurance policyholder will be paid a 3 lakh rupees, which is a sum assured. Or if the person dies before 10 years, then dependents will be paid 3 lakhs rupees. This is what the sum assured is, the face value of the policy. In certain special insurance contracts, there are certain kinds of additional contracts which are entered into and mentioned in the policy document. Along with the sum assured are the bonuses that is to be paid. Bonus is the part of the portion of the profit that the insurance company will be paying to the policyholders against an extra premium. So bonus is an additional along with the sum assured. Sometimes the uh, person will be paid particularly additional incurred money like dividends or something like that on certain basis. This sum assured will be paid to the policyholder at the time of the death or after the maturity of the uh, policy period. The second important point that is mentioned in the policy document is a premium payment and the method of premium payment. Premium, as we have already seen, a consideration in the contract of insurance. In life insurance contract, the premium is the amount that the policyholder pays it to the company. So the company receives the premium for providing the insurance services. Now, this premium may be paid in different methods. Either the premium will be paid one time or it will be paid in several times, as the case may be. There are certain policies in which the policyholder will pay one time insurance premium and will be getting the benefit after the maturity or after the death, as the case may be. And certain kinds of insurance, life insurance contracts, certain types of policies, the insurance premium will be paid after a specific time intervals, maybe monthly, quarterly, half yearly, annually, for a specific period of time. Say for example, if the policy contract is for 10 years, the policy premium may be paid for 5 years or maybe 2 years, as the case may be, or maybe throughout 10 years, depending on the contract between the insurance policy holder and the insurance company. So this premium is compulsory, and the method of premium and the amount of premium which are already fixed at the time of entering into contract has to be mentioned in the policy document compulsorily. Next one is the nature of the policy and the terms and conditions. There are certain terms and conditions relating to the contract of insurance. What are the terms and conditions? In what circumstances the policy that the amount will be paid to the uh, policy holder, that terms and conditions are mentioned in the policy. How to claim the death claims, procedure for death claims, and how to surrender a policy if the premium is not paid, and what are the penalties paid for the penalties are to be paid by the insurance for default in payment of the premium. All these terms and conditions are also mentioned in the policy document. And apart from this, the claim settlement procedures are also mentioned in the policy document. So policy document is the base of the contract and evidence of it is a written contract between the insurance company and the policy holder and the policy holder. And the last one is the nominee related terms. Nominee related terms in the sense, in certain kinds of insurance policies, the nominee is paid a money in insurance contract. Nominee is paid certain kinds of benefits. So nominee is the person to whom the compensation has to be paid if the person dies, if the policy holder dies. Nominee may be his wife, the policy holder's wife, or his son, or maybe his partner, or anybody. The insurance contract will allow the insurance policy holder to get the nominee, to give the nominee of any kind of his. He may be even uh, even the partner, even the person also who is not at all blood relative or connected person. Here, most of the people will confuse nominee and the insurable interest. Insurable interest in the sense a policy holder can take a policy on certain kinds of relations only. That is, if the insurable interest is there, he can take a policy. But to give a nominee for death benefits to be received, he can give the nominee to any person. For example, policyholder, if he dies, he can give the nomination of his parents, of his wife, or he can give 2-3 people, giving the percentage of the benefit to be shared among the people after the death. This is what the nominee. These terms and conditions are also mentioned. The name of the person whom the money should go after the death, the type of the relationship, everything is mentioned. So this is what the insurance contract and the insurance policy, entered policy. Okay. Now, the next aspect that we need to discuss is the documents needed in life insurance contract. As you know, the life insurance is a written contract. More of the informations are mentioned in the policy documents. So there are certain important documents are to be prepared and submitted from the insurance policy holder to the insurance company. Documentation is the paperwork that contains official information regarding the contract. In other words, documentation can also be called as the collection of documents that act as a written evidence of the official information. In case of a life insurance contract, some of the legal documents are necessary. These documents can be classified into 4 important categories. One is documents needed at the time of the proposal, buying life insurance proposal. Second one is documents needed for claiming the policy at the time of maturity. Third one is documents needed for claiming when the policyholder dies with a natural death, and documents needed at the time of a claim when the policyholder with a unnatural death. These are the 4 different situations in which different kinds of documents are expected. So first one is documents needed at the time of the proposal, that is buying the insurance policy. When the agreement is made between the insurance company and the policy holder, that is the client has to submit certain documents to the insurance company to form the insurance agreement, make it a contract. These documents are basically of 7 types. 7 types of documents are compulsorily needed. One is proposal application form. So the application form is prepared by the insurance company and has to be filled in by the policy holder, by the client to become a policy holder. So he has to fill all the details. Normally the informations which are asked in the application form are the name of the policy holder, details about the policy holder, like his address, residential address, all that, details about the policy, what kind of a policy he is going to take, whether it is a annuity policy, whether it is a kind of endowment policy or term policy, which kind of policy. And every policy is a product which is named with a particular code number by the insurance company. For example, table A B type of policy in endowment having a specific feature of its own. In life insurance corporation policies, there are certain kinds of Bima Kiran, for example. Bima Kiran policy is a life insurance policy for specific reasons. So those characteristics, those informations are coded with a number. When that particular number is entered, automatically those terms and conditions will be applicable. So he has to give the details of the policy which he wants to claim. And declaration by the insured, that is the policy buyer, relating to the family, health, etc., which is normally in the form of question and answer type. So it is the point of utmost good faith. In this case, several informations are asked by the insurance company to the policy buyer relating to his family, relating to his health. For example, whether the person is married or unmarried. If married, name of the wife, number of children, dependents on his this thing. Then health related aspects relating to whether he is having any pre notified diseases, or whether he is having any kind of habits or hobbies which are directly connected with the quality of the health, like smoking, drinking, and all that. These informations are particularly asked. Whether hospitalized previously for any of the diseases, how many days of hospitalization, where he was hospitalized, and what was the reason of hospitalization. All these informations are gathered just to know whether the quality of life of the policy buyer is good or under danger zone. If it is danger zone, based on these information, the premium charged may be varying by the insurance companies. So these are the important information that are to be declared in the application form. So application form will be having a several steps, part A, part B, part C. Like part A will be personal information about the policyholder. Part B will be relating to the details relating to the policy. Part C will be details or information relating to the family, which is in the form of question and answer type. And he has to give the declaration that all the information furnished above relating to all the policy, family related and health related aspects are correct and best to his knowledge, and he has to sign it. In case if he declares any kind of information which he knows to deceive the insurance company, and if it is identified after the contract is made, the declaration includes a clause that if at all anything found wrong and which is known to me, and if it is identified, I am able to sustain that particular loss, so that he is subject to get the punishments, penalties, or rescinding the contract of insurance. So those declarations are included in the declaration form. So now the second important certain proof that he has to submit along with the insurance application form, that is the age proof. Age proof is the proof that person birth date and the age that he is having right now. Normally in the life insurance contract, if the less the age, the less the premium, because the health hazards are less at the young age. If the age is more, normally insurance premium will be more because it is subject to health risks. Therefore, age proof is very much important. In order to give the age proof, there are several documents listed by the insurance company. And even in the contract act also, if at all age proof has to be proved. One is the school leaving certificate, which is having an authentic entry of the age at the time of leaving the 10th standard from the school. That is a school leaving certificate. Or birth certificate issued by the corporation authorities, municipal corporation, where that in which jurisdiction the person has taken the birth. The third one is age proof can be the SLC marks card, 10th marks card, or it can even be any kind of the document which is accepted, like in certain cases Aadhaar card also contains the age entry. If the Aadhaar card contains the age entry, it can also be taken as age proof. Or even voter ID, or even ration cards, if at all it bears the date of birth. which is accepted by the authorities. Next important thing that he has to submit is the income proof. If the income proof is more important information to be furnished, because the ability to pay the insurance premium and the importance of the person as an earning member of the family is declared through income proof. If the more the income the person is having, is capable to pay more the insurance premium. Otherwise, if the income of the person is very less, and if you opt for a high premium policies, the premium paying ability may be disturbed after several months or several years, and hence the policy may not be continued by the policy holder. Therefore, income proof is also very much essential. The income proof can be self declaration that the person can give if the income is very less. If the income is high and he is ready to take the high related policies, high premium policies, in such cases he has to prove that income proof either by giving the salary certificate or income proof from the authorities, or by the income tax return filing, that is the income tax filing returns can also be an income proof. Then next one is address proof. Address proof is a residential proof that a policyholder stays, where the policyholder stays, in which locality where he is staying. Address proof is necessary to identify the policyholder, either to serve the premium notices, or to call the person for certain kinds of discussions, or to reach the person for at the time of the death or at the time of the maturity to pay off his compensation. So address proof is more essential. So there are two kinds of addresses normally the insurance policy holder gives. One is permanent address, second one is residential address. Permanent address is one where he is located permanently, having his own assets. And there are certain kinds of situations where the person is transferred from one place to another, maybe staying in rented houses temporarily. So those addresses are called as the residential addresses, temporary addresses for the time being. So both the informations are to be shared with the authorities. So address proof has to be given. So the address proof documents are many in nature. One is Aadhaar card contains the address proof. Bank passbook will contain the address proof, or employees ID proof, identity card may also contains address proof, or specific authority issuing the address proof like municipal corporation authorities, or address proof can also be proved through the housing tax receipts or electricity bills that are in the name of the policy holder. So these are all the address proofs that can also be given as address proof. Next one is the policy document. After this, very important one is the policy document. That is the after entry, providing all this, when the policy when the contract is agreed upon, when the offer and acceptances are made and the contract is entered into, the contract will be in the written form. That written form of the contract is called as a policy document. It contains all that information relating to terms and conditions of the insurance contract, and information relating to insured and everything. So those policy document is also one of the important document that is to be taken by the insurance policy holder. Next one is the premium receipt. As and when the first premium is paid, it is very important. First premium has to be preserved till the maturity of the policy, because first premium receipt will give the evidence that the contract has been entered into, and the subsequent premium receipts, if they are not necessary to be kept, because the books of accounts are kept by the insurance company as and when the premium is paid. But the first premium receipt is the mandatory at the time of claiming the policy by the insurance policy holder. Then one is policy alteration and endorsement. There is a separate form that is called a policy alteration and endorsement. There are two things, that is policy alteration. If in certain kinds of insurance contract, certain kinds of policies are altered, that is after the expiry of the time, if at all after the expiry of maturity period, if the policy has to be continued for some more years, it can be continued with. Or certain kinds of policy alterations, that if at all the policy holder wanted to increase the premium amount and extend the assured value, certain clauses are permitted to him to do that in certain kinds of insurance policies, insurance contracts. So in this case, this kind of alteration forms are attached with it. He has to fill it and submit for alterations. Another one is endorsement. What is an endorsement? The authority of receipt of the policy, that is the nominee, can be endorsed from one person to another person. Suppose, for example, if the policy holder, after doing a policy contract, after paying a several premium, the policy will have a market value, will have a asset value, face value. Certain times of situations, he can endorse that as a proof of asset for taking loans and advances, either to the banker or to any of the companies, or he can use it as a asset for prima facie evidences of credits that he is going to take. In such cases, whenever the policy is kept for such kind of thing, is called as a pledging the insurance policy. When the pledging the insurance policy is done, endorsement has to be made in the name of the pledgee, that is a person who gives the credit against the asset of that insurance premium, insurance value, insurance policy. He should have an endorsement. In such cases, endorsement forms are filled and submitted to the insurance company. Insurance company will transfer that nominee's name from insured person to the from the insured dependent's name to the pledgee's name are entered into. So in such cases, the separate documents are created and transferred from the insurance company holder to the insurance company to the insurance holder to the insurance company. So this is called as a endorsement document. So these are the very important documents at the time of entering into a contract. As soon as the contract is done, these are the documents which are prepared. This policy, this one, policy alteration endorsement is an optional document. Is an optional document, may be created, may not be created, not as in the contract. Okay. Next, documents needed for claiming the policy at the time of the maturity. Maturity means after the expiry of a specific term of the contract as agreed, it is called a maturity. Say, for example, if the insurance contract is for 10 years, after the 10th year, the insurance company has to pay the sum assured value to the policy holder. So after the completion of the 10th year, we call it as a maturity of the period, maturity of the period. When the life insurance policy matures, the claim can be settled by the insurance company on the receipt of the following documents. One is original insurance policy document. Second one is first premium receipt, first premium payment receipt. Third one is a discharge voucher. The fourth one is age proof. Fourth one is address proof with a recent photo. Document supporting a bank details. All these informations are to be provided. Original insurance policy has to be submitted at the time of the claim, that is after the maturity. The insurance policy holder has to submit it in the office of the insurance company, office of the insurance company, giving evidence that he is the policy holder and asking for the maturity. He has to attach certain additional documents along with it. The first one is the first premium receipt that has to be attached with the original policy document. Second one is a discharge voucher consisting the payment settlement details. Here in discharge voucher, that is being prepared by the insurance company and will be submitted to the policy holder. In the discharge voucher, it contains the sum assured plus any benefits that he is supposed to receive. The total value that is to be settled will be mentioned in this voucher, and the consent of the policyholder is taken for this value. If at all he has any queries or any kinds of objections relating to the payment of the claim, then he can raise the objections before signing this voucher. Once he signs the discharge voucher and attached with the policy, the same amount will be processed and paid to the policyholder. Next one is age proof should also be attached with. What is that age proof? Age proof is required for the purpose of showing that maturity of the claim, and the person who is having the particular age at that particular time. So at the time of entering into contract also age proof is provided, and at the time of a claim also age proof is provided in order to have the clarity relating to the age of the person receiving. Then next one is address proof with a recent photo. he has to submit the address proof along with a passport size photograph in order to identify the person only who is receiving the genuine person identification, and all that address proof and photo proof will help us. Last one is the document supporting the bank details. Nowadays what happened, the earlier the insurance companies used to issue the demand draft or the check as a settlement of the claim to the insured policyholder at the time of maturity, after the maturity when all the documents are submitted. But nowadays, all that money will be transferred to the bank account of the policyholder, bank account of the customer with ECS, that is electronic funds transfer systems. So in order to pay the money to the banker of the insurance policy holder, the insurance policy asks the documents relating to the bank. Here, as a supporting bank details, he has to give the bank passbook or cancelled check which contains name of the banker in which the account is held by the name of the banker in which the account is held by the policyholder, his account number, type of account, IFSC code, and address of the bank branch. So all these details are essential. So in order to support this information, passbook xerox of the front page of the passbook of the policy holders, or the cancelled check leaf of the account holder has to be submitted. So it is made compulsory today that the client or the customer who is claiming the maturity benefit should have compulsorily a bank account, and it should be in his own name only, and he has to submit all this information. Now the next one is documents needed for claiming when the policyholder dies with a natural death. Because of the natural death, if he dies, normally the compensation will be paid to the sum assured value will be paid to the dependents. So in such cases, there are certain documents which are to be submitted by the dependents of the deceased life insurance policy holder. These documents are original life insurance policy, as discussed earlier. It is compulsory at the time of maturity as well as death. Next one is first premium receipt, as it is compulsory. Claim form in which the information of the facts should be correct and no detail should be missed out. Claim form has to be mentioned. In this claim form, the name of the person who is claiming the money, the relationship, all these kinds of informations are to be filled in. So it is a form which has to be filled and signed by the person who is claiming the death benefit of the policy. Next one is identification proof, which should have both photo and which have photo and date of birth of the claimant as well as the relationship with the insured. Another one is a proof has to be provided relating to the date of birth of the claimant, whether the claimant is a minor or major, because minor persons are not so easily given the claim settlements. So therefore, in order to prove all that, date of birth is most essential of the person who is claiming it, and also a photo has to be given in order to have an identity proof, as an identity proof. Next one is legal succession paper or assignment deed, which proves that the claimant has the legal title to raise insurance claims. For example, in the insurance policy, the nominee column is already written. If it is written and registered by the deceased insurance policy holder, then there is no much problem in claiming the money by the nominee, because nominee, just by giving the proof of his name, address, and all that, is sufficient. But if the nomination is not given, and the question arises who are the dependents, and the money has to be given to the dependents after the death of the insurance policy holder, now the problem comes in who has to be given the discharge money. So there are certain legal heirs who are having an automatic right to claim even if the nomination is not paid. For example, the deceased person's wife or the husband, who is the first legal heir to ask for to get the claim. So therefore, in this case, he has to give the details, or she has to give the details and give the proof for a relationship, like if it's a wife, husband, and all that, marriage certificate or any of the documents proving that husband and wife has to be mentioned. If the wife is not there, then children are there, then the problem arises. The money has to be claimed by the children. In such cases, the children can ask for the division of the money. If there are two children, 50-50 or some portion will be made. If it is not mentioned in the nomination form, they should give a deed in writing and ask for that particular claim. So this is one more important information. And if there are no legal heirs and has to be proved, it has to come through the court. Now the court has to declare these people as the legal heir and give the authority to collect the claims of the deceased person's insurance amount. So this is how the procedure normally goes in. In such cases, these additional informations are to be submitted. Next one is all hospitalization documents which contain receipts as well as treatment details. If at all the hospitalization of the deceased person is made and treatments are made, it has to be given a proof that the death is natural. Death is natural. It is not an murder or an accident. So in such cases, hospital documents play a very important role. All medical prescriptions and bills are to be submitted in order to verify whether it is a natural death or a kind of murder or accident and all that. Last, attending physician's certificate. The physician has to declare the cause of the death. Whether the cause of the death is a heart attack or something which is natural has to be proved by the physician. If the physician gives that it is an accident or it is a murder or it is a suicide, something like that, then the claim will have a different term. Then original death certificate issued by the concerned authority. After the death is after the death happens, there are certain authorities which issues the death certificate. One is the physician's certificate will be submitted to the corporation, municipal corporations. That municipal corporation will issue the death certificate. And when the death certificate is issued, the legal heirs' names are also mentioned in the death certificate, stating that they are the legal heirs relating to that. Then cremation certificate, when the cremation is made, then certificate is normally issued by the concerned authority of the cremation activity, like in registered cremation centers, like in graveyard and all that, authorities will issue the certificate. Or if it is not there, then the leaders of the city, leaders of the area who are having a what call as panchrami, they will issue the certificate of the cremation. The people who have attended that particular thing. Otherwise, police will issue the cremation certificate as per the situation. So these are the documents to be submitted in the case of natural death. If the death is not natural, when the policyholder dies with the unnatural death will happen in case of accident, murder, suicide. No claim shall be paid for a suicide. To prove that death is not due to suicide, the following additional documents are required along with the claim documents mentioned at the time of the death. The claim documents are normal that we have already mentioned at the time of the natural death. One is the original policy document, then first premium payment receipt, and all other things. So along with that, if it is an unnatural death like accident and all that, when the accident happens or murder happens, normally FIR will be created. The first information report in the police station will be given by the dependents regarding the thing. For example, if the person dies an unnatural death, then the time of the death, where the accident has happened, which vehicle got accident or how he got an accident has to be mentioned. So FIR receipt has to be, FIR report has to be attached with that. Then the certified police inquest report. Inquest report is police panchrama. When the death happens at the particular spot, the police people will come. Along with that, some public people who are responsible in giving the proof will also be involved. So more 5-3-6 people are involved. That is called panchrama report, that is prepared by the police authorities. That report has to be attached, where it explains the situation of the death, how that policyholder has died. Then the chemical analysis report, if in case of intoxication, if the death is because of poison consumption or something like that, or alcoholic kind of a thing, intoxication report has to be mentioned. It is considered, if the intoxication report is positive and the person has died because of the poison, and poison is taken by his own way, then it is called a suicide. In case of suicide, insurance policy will not be claimed. Then certified post-mortem report. The post-mortem report declares the cause of the death, which is issued by the concerned government surgeon or government hospitals giving the cause of the death. These are the documents to be submitted for claiming insurance policy by the dependents at the time of unnatural death. Now, the next point that we need to discuss is regarding the premium calculations in life insurance. Premium is the consideration towards insurance service paid by the policyholder to the insurance company. The premium is calculated by actuaries taking into consideration taking into consideration of a quantum of the risk, its frequency and its impact on the loss, etc. In life insurance policy, following factors influence the amount of premium. As you know that the premium amount is not similar for all the people. The premium amount is going to change, vary from person to person, from policy to policy, and from company to company. That is, different insurance companies will charge a different insurance premium for the same kind of a risk. For the same kind of the risk, there are several things which are influencing these premium amount. The calculation of the premium depends on several factors. Now, let us understand what are the important factors which directly enforce on the premium calculation. One is the type of the insurance, life insurance policy, whether it is an endowment policy, whether it is a whole life policy, or whether it is an annuity policy, what type of policy it is. That is a very important aspect because the nature of these policies are different. In case of endowment policy, the amount of the benefit will be given only after the death of the person or after the expiry of the maturity period. In between, no payment will be made to the insurance policy holder as a compensation. Either he is to die or the specific period of time should have expired. That is called endowment. In case of whole life policy, the person cannot ask for the money at any point of time because after the death only the policy repayment will be made. So in this case, when the premium has to be calculated, what is the age of the person taking the policy, what is his total amount that has to be mentioned. Then applicant's age. Then applicant's age is also very important thing. If the younger person is taking a policy, the risk factor relating to health and all that are less, and more the age, the premium will be normally more. Then the sum assured. In this case, in most of the general insurance contracts, the sum assured money is decided based on the market value of the asset, based on the market value of the asset. But in case of life insurance corporation contracts, the value of the human life is not decided based on the market value, right? It is to be declared by the person himself. If he feels that he is having a, crore rupees value for his life, he can take a crore rupees policy. If he feels that it is valuing only 10 lakhs, he can take a 10 lakhs rupees policy. Lakhs and crores will be decided by the insurance policy holder. When he decides the higher amount of sum assured, he is supposed to pay the more insurance premium. So the ability of the premium will decide the sum assured value for his life. So the sum assured, if it is more, maximum amount, normally the compensation to be paid will be more, and automatically the premium will also be varying, changing more. Suppose if the person is uh, uh, aged is very high, say for example, if he is having the age of 40, 42 and entering into insurance contract and sum assured value is 1 crore, normally the premium will be very high. And if at the same time, if the sum assured value is in crore and the person is having the age of 18 years, then the insurance premium for this person will be will be less for the same policy. For the same policy. So likewise, sum assured value and age of the person and type of the policy takes are all counted while calculating the insurance premium. Another one is premium payment frequency. Premium payment frequency, there are premium payment frequency like one time invest premium payment. When one time premium payment is there, normally the premium will be normally less. One time premium. If he is paying yearly, installments are given him to pay either yearly, quarterly, monthly, etc. In such cases, the premium amount per year, per quarter may be less, and it is frequently occurring after the expiry of that agreed period. This is how the frequency of the time is also calculated. Then Tenure or example on the plan period of the contract. Tenure of the plan. Tenure of the plan talks about the period of the contract. If the period of the contract is lengthy, premium will be less. If it is less, more premium will be charged. It is depending on the annuity value of the money that is being paid for, how much it earns. Like additional riders or any kind of a benefits that a person takes into additional riders are the additional benefits provided. For example, in certain kind of a life insurance policies, accidental benefits are also included. In certain life insurance policies, natural death are also only included. If it is a natural death policy and if the person wants to include accidental benefit also, so this is called a rider, and rider is allowed by the insurance company in certain policies. If it is available, riders are available, he can take those riders as an additional benefit and additional features of the policy, and for that he has to pay additional extra premium. This is what is called as riders. Okay, now reasons. There are certain reasons why the insurance premium is changing from person to person for the same plan. As we have already seen, for the same plan, the insurance premium amount may vary. Say, for example, if two friends X and Y go and ask for the insurance policy, both are of the same age, but the insurance policy charged may be vary depending on the actuary's valuation of the health of the person. So there are certain factors which influence for the change of the uh, premium for between the two parties for the same policy. The first one is gender. If the male gender and female gender are included, are two genders normally taken into consideration. When the gender point comes, male are considered to be more stronger than the women, and male gender are prone to more risks as compared to women. So these factors are considered while giving the insurance policies. For a female, insurance policies may be premium, or in certain cases premium is less. For a male, premium is certain cases more. So this is how we can bifurcate, because gender wise the risk factors involved are different. Then second one is weight and height, body mass index, that is a physical ability of the person. If the body mass index is very high, the person is prone to more risks of heart attacks, diabetes, and all that. If the body mass index is less, the person is not having a more risky. So the range is provided, and the medical examination is made in certain policies to enter into a contract, where the health hazards may create the loss compensation situations for the insurance company. In such cases, if you undergo medical examination, if the body mass index is more and risky, insurance premium will be charged high to such kind of people. Dependents, if there are more dependents, then the person's risk is more, the person's responsibilities are more, and the less dependents, person's responsibilities are less. So the compensation possibilities in case of dependents is more. That is how the insurance company actuaries will decide based on this. Next one is medical history. If the good medical history, less premium. If the bad medical history, then there is a more insurance policy premium. Next one is marital status. If the person is married, more insurance premium. Unmarried, less insurance premium because of a dependency. Income status is also taken into consideration. Occupation of the person. Occupation of the person refers to his health hazards or life hazards. If the person is a pilot and flying in the air every day, then his risk of life will be more. In such cases, insurance policies will be charged for such kind of professions. And if the person is not having such kind of exposures, the same age person will be charged less insurance premium. International travel, if the person is traveling frequently internationally, going through air travels and all that, then risk of life will be more, threats for the life will be more, and insurance policy will be more. Smoking and alcohol addiction, if it is there, insurance premium will be more, and if it is less, insurance premium will be less. If it is not there, insurance premium. Then high risk hobbies, if there are any high risk hobbies the person is having, like if he is a swimmer, if he is a horse rider, there are if he is a gymnasium personality, and if he is a boxing person. So in such cases, in these hobbies, in these kind of professions, hobby related professions, there is more risk for that life. Therefore insurance premiums are normally charged high. These all informations have to be declared personally by the insurance policy holder as a utmost good faith the principal on the output school paid principal. If he hides any of these and risk occurs to his life by hiding this information, then policy can be rescinded by the insurance policy companies at any point of time. Next one is changes in the premium charged by the company to company. If you find two different companies charge the different premium on the same situations. For example, life insurance company may charge less for the life of the person, life insurance policy, but the private insurance policy may charge high due to certain reasons. The important three important reasons which makes the changes in the premium charged by two different companies are one, the calculation of a mortality rate and underwriting process. Underwriting process is mainly made by the actuaries. Actuaries, what kind of history they take and how they calculate, they anticipate the future risk depends on the ability of the underwriters. If the underwriters are calculating the mortality rate at a high rate in certain situations, and the more premium will be charged. If the mortality is less premium will be charged. So it totally depends on the approach of the underwriters, or what you call as actuaries in the insurance industry. If the actuaries are more optimistic towards the life of the person, where they evaluate the mortality rate may be less, they may charge less premium. If they estimate that mortality rate is more, they may charge a more premium. So this is depending on that particular thing. Then expenses and profit margin. What are the expenditures involved by the insurance company in executing the insurance services? The people involved, the payment of the salary made to the people, and the profit margin also plays a very important role. In life insurance, LIC, Life Insurance Corporation, mostly the profit margin is very less, and the employee expenditures are also very less. So because of that, they may charge less premium to the people taking the insurance policy. Whereas in case of international life insurance corporations, or in case of certain corporate life insurance companies like ICICI and all that, may be charging a little higher amount of the premium for the situations, basically because their expectation of the profit margin is more and expenditure involved is also more. Exigency or emergency element, which is one more important factor. Exigency and emergency element talks about certain kinds of emergency services for which the insurance compensation is made. For example, if the person gets hospitalized for the health reasons, in certain life insurance policies there are certain riders which are involved. In case of emergency requirement and all that, if the compensation has to be made for the medical expenditures, in such cases the premium will be high. If the emergency elements are not involved, then premium will be less. And in case of disbursement of the policy amount, that is a claim amount, certain rate of disbursement will be very high and very quick. In such cases, premiums are normally high. So now, depending on the insurance premium, we should not decide the insurance policy. If the less premium has to be charged, and we should not estimate that it is a very good insurance policy, because it is not a product like market products, right? If it is available at cheaper rates, the customer value will be more, not like that. If there is a less premium, certain hidden situations where the certain emergency elements or certain things are involved, not involved in the insurance services. So therefore, it has to be thoroughly understood and investigated by the policy buyer, that is a customer, at the time of buying the policy. So here our part 2 of unit 4 is over. So we will discuss the remaining aspects in the next class. So please prepare well, students. So please prepare well, and we will see the remaining aspects in the next class. Thank you.